The following presentation by Brian Patterson, the board chair of the eMERGE Alliance, was presented to the Gridwise Architecture Council on December 13th, 2023. Please welcome Brian Patterson.
The power electronics have grown from the days of early electronics inside a box, so to speak, low-level DC power, all the way up to very high levels of power now. We have semiconductor capability. So the idea is to take advantage of all that and form these networks based on DC coupling instead of AC coupling. The biggest advantage of that is the fact that then the network or the microgrid doesn't have to be synchronous. It can be essentially non-synchronous because we don't have to synchronize DC. We have to regulate voltage, but we don't have to synchronize. So that's the work that eMERGE has been doing and is professing, I would say. Now, what our intention is, though, at all levels of this, I'll call it evolution toward a grid of grids, is that we never want to lose or sacrifice any of the current resource we have in AC assets. So we make an extra attempt to make sure that we can always couple in AC assets, whether they're at the building level or at the neighborhood level, community, and of course the grid itself. Very similar to the way, as we know, the grid enterprise and transmission is working its way down with HVDC, but it's not giving up on AC transmission just because it's incorporating some HVDC power transmission. It wants to combine it together, so to speak, and never have to marginalize or strand the assets of our AC infrastructure. So we have the same philosophy. We're not out to kill AC or get rid of it or anything like that. We know we need those resources, dearly, and even in a certain context, urgently, as we pile on more and more things moving from combustion type power to electricity. We need all the resources we can get. So we're not about to attempt to do away with AC. The one thing that we do see in the future for AC, though, is in addition to the current fixed frequency AC, we see the use of variable frequency AC, or at least controllable frequency for things like induction charging or induction cooking and things like that, where it's AC technology, it's just not fixed frequency. So the overall mission is to use all of the tools in the toolbox to create the grid of grids. Probably many of you know in the internet, which is where I spent most of my early career in developing the equipment and architecture in that domain, that we still have both the analog and digital transmission. So there's a place for a long time, if not forever, for AC technology in the power systems that we have. But we want to complement and support those with as much of the new technologies we can, and particularly in the DC realm. So that's kind of where eMERGE is coming from. Now, eMERGE, as I said, started out looking at the equivalent and power system of a personal computer, like a personal power system, the power LED lighting inside a building and things like that. We then worked on looking at a standard for data centers, powering data centers with higher voltage DC and so on, direct to the servers and so on. And now we're working on the broader context of whole building microgrids, whole neighborhood microgrids, and community microgrids. We are in the final throes of putting together the first very comprehensive microgrid standard, which is called the DC and hybrid AC/DC microgrid standard, and it basically outlines the what we believe are the ideal and required tenets of a hybrid or pure DC coupled system. and that'll be coming out shortly. We also recognize that since DC technology, although many are familiar with it on the microelectronic side, when you get up into the power side, higher powers, there's a lot of infamiliarity. And so we believe that it was important for us to not only have a standard to talk about how to incorporate DC into the architecture of microgrids and this grid of grids, but also to have tools to complement that, so people wouldn't spend, half their budget doing the engineering and learning how to put together DC or hybrid AC/DC systems. So we are simultaneously going to be releasing a design tool that essentially incorporates the tenets of the standard, as well as what we call the compatibility of components in a system together. Interoperability. Sorry, I was struggling for that word. So it is a tool that manages interoperability decisions. And the way it does that is we have framework models for each piece of equipment that might be selectable for use in a microgrid. So, battery systems and inverters and rectifiers and circuit protection devices and, distribution boxes and wiring and so on and so forth. All of these components have critical characteristics that are important to understand in order to have a system that's going to be interoperable and perform in the way that allows it to be a part of this grid of grids, starting at the microgrid or the nanogrid level, and then on up into the neighborhood community and so on. So basically what we are doing is taking devices, and let's say I have an inverter, and I look at the critical power characteristics, what I call the physics of power characteristics that might come off the data sheet or what have you, and create a digital model of that. We're actually using JSON, for those who are familiar with that form of JavaScript. And we have a library then of devices that are put into a form that would allow algorithms of interoperability to match those components or suggest what has to be done in order to have interoperability between various components. We're experimenting right now with a bolt-on to that tool, which is an AI tool, which then takes all of the information from the manufacturers of all these pieces of equipment, including their data sheets, their instruction manuals, their application notes, and so on and so forth, anything that is publicly available to their customers and so on, and having a closed database or a managed database, which the AI tool can go in and look for and create answers to questions that a designer might have about matching pieces of equipment in a multi-vendor system or a multi-level system between neighborhood and community, or enterprise and neighborhood, and so on. So that's the work that eMERGE is doing right now. eMERGE is a nonprofit, Part 6, 501c Part 6. So we don't do lobbying. We're really not looking at the politics and all the whys and the wherefores. We're mostly, geeky engineering people that are looking at how to put this architecture together in a meaningful way to give people like policymakers and building operators and owners and so on and so forth the maximum capability in a power system that's efficient, resilient, safe, and economic. So those are what we're doing now. Our membership is partly a paid membership. So OEMs, for example, and engineering firms have paid for fee-based memberships, which are very modest. But academics and government agencies and so on, most of the national labs and so on are complimentary members and have status in attending meetings. We do have some efforts that we do that are open source. So they're conducted by eMERGE, but they are open attendance things. For example, this whole notion of having a interoperability data modeling format for devices that could be universal and used in other design tools, not the one that eMERGE is doing, but anybody's design tool, because all those models are doing is characterizing the pieces of equipment and what their input and output characteristics are and so on. And so that's an open source effort. And we're likely to have, we're about to initiate an open source effort also in integrating fault managed power, or as some people call it, digital electricity, because we feel that once you have the ability to go DC, it's likely that one of the enhancements to that, particularly in certain distributions where you want to make them super safe or touch safe, that fault managed power technology will be key. So maybe having said all that, I'll open it up for questions maybe and see if I've confused everybody or.
Thank you, Brian, for that great presentation. For more information about the GridWise Architecture Council, please visit our website at gridwiseac.org, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at the link provided. Thank you.